Hey there, GoCo. This is Scott with the Gaming Outsider. This week, Zack, CB, and myself discussed the state of the podcast. We reached out to you guys for some feedback on ways we can make the show a better listening experience for all of you, so you'll hear us discuss that. Also in news, we got trailers for Tony Hawk and the Mafia Trilogy remasters, Paper Mario, the Origami King, and also that beautiful Unreal 5 engine. Got some new games we talked about, including Songs for a Hero and MegaByte Punch. Also, Zack and I have been playing some Naughty Dog games, and Zack's also been catching up on some Fallen Order DLC, and Chris finally beat Final Fantasy VII Remastered. We're so glad you're here. Thanks so much for being a listener. On with the show. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 295 of the Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, May 18th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-host, Zack Parkerson.
Hello. Hi, I'm here.
And Chris Behrensmeyer.
What up, yo?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Tired.
CB's tired. I'm okay.
We missed you last week, man. It was not the same without you.
Yeah, I got several emails saying that the show was just miserable without me, so I had to come back to save it. Even though I am a little sick, so if you hear my voice is a little weird, guys, I was under the weather for sure.
Well, that and you've got, Scott Stapp upstairs playing guitar, so...
Yeah, that'll happen.
Hopefully you're not hearing it, but Zack's neighbor apparently decided to have a concert upstairs, which is some of the audio issues we've been having, but I'm genuinely glad to have you back, man. It's going to be a good episode. How's your guys' week been? Been doing anything interesting? Staying quarantined, I assume?
I went back to work.
Oh, that's right. You went back to work for the first time since you got back from New York, right?
Yeah.
How was that?
Boring.
Yeah.
Spotted.
Slinging coffee getting any better, Zack?
No. And Kansas City is kind of opened up with the whole COVID thing. Yeah. So that sucks. And now, no one wanted to wear masks before, and now they're mad at us for wanting people to wear gloves and stuff. And, the city said you can open up for dining, and my restaurant is not, and people are enraged about that. So we are not. I do but I respect my owner because he's anybody who's like, well, why can't I sit down? He's just like, are you stupid?
Are you serious? He says that to people?
He is like directly going up to customers and be like, hey, there's a viral pandemic. Just because everybody's bored at the government and want to open up doesn't make the virus go away. He's just kind of like accosting customers. It's kind of cool.
Wow. Well, I did not go back to work. I'm still working from home, teaching as much as I can, but I have been still keeping busy. I feel like I was telling you guys this before we recorded the episode. I know a lot of people just assume that since I'm not in my classroom, that I'm just sitting at home playing video games all the time. No exaggeration. I am playing video games less now than I was when I was working full time, like when I was actually at school for 6 to 7 hours a day. I put in less time now. I don't know where my day goes. It's kind of crazy. But I did play for myself this week, Zack. You'd be proud of me.
Whoa! I am proud of you.
I did.
My heart is aflutter.
I played nothing new. I played a game just because I wanted to. We'll get to that later.
I'm going to hear more about it later? Yeah.
We are going to hear more about it later. But let's go ahead in the meantime and jump into the week's news. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to try something because the news seems to drag on a little bit. So here's what I want to do. I'm just going to kind of read through very quickly the top news stories that I have written down here. And then I want you guys just to tell me which ones you want to talk about, and we'll go from there. So instead of going item by item by item, I'm just going to let you know what happened this week in the week of news. So first off, it was a week of a couple remasters. We got announcements of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is going to be coming to modern consoles. Also, the Mafia Trilogy. On top of that, we got a new trailer for Paper Mario, the Origami King, which releases on July 17th. And then Sony's State of Play took place this week, where we got to see finally some gameplay for Ghosts of Tsushima. Excited to talk about that. And then lastly, and I think this is kind of the biggest news of the week, Jeff Keighley unveiled Unreal Engine 5 during his first Summer Game Fest, which took place, it's kind of kicking off for the next 4 months, basically. So out of these stories here, guys, what stood out to you the most?
Well, of course, I'm gonna go right to Ghost of Tsushima as a resident PlayStation guy, I suppose. It I don't know, I really respected the way they showed it off. It did not look like a hyper polished demo. Like it looked like a video game running in real time.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, like it didn't look cleaned up, which I really liked a lot. Other than that, Scott, I know I was talking to you a little about this. I miss the old Assassin's Creeds, like Assassin's Creed 1 through 3. Those things were my jam, and this looked like one of those.
I think that's what I told you. It felt very much like a Origins Assassin's Creed game.
Right, but in feudal Japan, the setting everybody always wanted.
Right, that's what everybody said. They always wanted feudal Japan in Assassin's Creed, and it's there. So I'm really excited about it. I think some of the stuff they showed off that a lot of people are gaga about, I'm just okay on. The Kurosawa effect, as it were, where you can like play it in black and white. I think it's a really cool novelty. I have no interest in playing that game in black and white. I don't know about you guys. I think it's cool, but I'm just never going to play it that way.
I actually do.
Yeah?
I'm
with CB.
I'm actually excited for this game. I want to play it, but I do want to play it in black and white mode.
Like all the way through?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So
I just really like the film. Like it just looks so dirty. The film grade effect they had that they were showing off, I thought looked really good. I doubt how my first campaign playthrough I'll have it on when I'm doing side quests and stuff. I bet I'll flip that thing on.
Yeah, assuming you can flip it back and forth, I would do it once in a while.
Okay, I
just
can
make
see
it a
that.
button press.
So,
what'd you think about the? They tried to incorporate like nature into the waypoints and stuff like that, where you put a way marker and then you're following like a yellow line or some kind of breadcrumb trail, but instead they've done it where you actually follow the wind. So the wind is points you in the direction of where you're supposed to go or whatever you've got marked on the map. And I think they even have like some birds show some of the hidden items and things like that. I appreciate that, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
I think it's kind of a unique way to guide someone through a game.
Mm-hmm.
With like a lot of the Assassin's Creed games, there were like little triggers when you got near some of those hidden items, like a slight music note or change. So I mean, that's really nothing new.
Right.
Right. To me, it's a same song, different tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to make it feel less video gamey in a sense, but
right.
I never had a problem with it. I really didn't. I think it's cool. I'm not mad at it. I don't dislike it. I actually like that they tried something different.
Yeah, I think the combat looked kind of cool. The sword looks like it means something, look like a lot of one-hit slashes and stuff, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, man, looks really cool. I really like the almost like the quick draw system. It reminded me of Red Dead, the way like the sword you try to draw at the right time or whatever to start a fight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Like, I thought the game looked really cool, and I got more excited because it looked like an actual video game and not a highly polished demo.
I agree. Here's the thing, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, and I don't mean to. I was super amped for this trailer and for this gameplay because it is exactly what I wanted from this. This is the first time we've seen gameplay, yes?
In any significant way.
Yeah, true gameplay.
Because we just saw because we saw one boss fight, right? Before?
I feel like we saw him standing off against one person, but we couldn't tell if it was actual gameplay or if it was a cinematic. So this, and it cracks me up that people were just going crazy for this and how amazing this game looked. And I will say that I don't think that it looked graphically as impressive as something else we're going to talk about in another story here in a minute. I thought this looked more like a current gen game, which it is. It's going to be a PS4 game and PS5. But just the amount of sheer, like, just absolute adoration and praise for this game. And then we get into other things and people are disappointed. I don't understand the disparity there. Because, again, and I'm not saying that I'm not jump up and down excited for this, because this is jumped up. I don't know which I'm more excited for, this or Last of Us, honestly. Because this is my kind of game. You know me, I've been into the Assassin's Creed games for forever. I'm all about it. But I don't get it. I don't get I don't get what people want from next gen, from current gen, and I'm getting annoyed with it. It just bothers me.
I think it's more or less people don't know what they want yet because it's not in their hands.
That's true. Yeah. Well, we'll come more to that later. CB, which story do you want to talk about?
That beautiful, beautiful Unreal 5 engine.
Thank you. I was blown away by that trailer, and that's what I was alluding to, is people were crapping all over how this thing doesn't look next gen, but we're just praising how amazingly beautiful Tsushima looked, which it looked good, but it looked nowhere near the fidelity of what we saw in that trailer. Tell everybody what it was about first off.
So it was basically a ramped up tech demo, but they created this fake game to play this, which honestly I hope they actually make this game. But they were highlighting each new thing for this new engine, like how many triangles it was using and all the layering
technology.
Yeah, and all the layering technology, the lumen. And it just like every single, basically this character was walking through a cave and going along this path. And every single step through this cave, they just highlighted something in each area. And like the one spot where they actually showed what each individual triangle looked like was mind blowing. They're like, yeah, there's over 1 billion pixels on this screen, 1 billion triangles on this screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mind blowing how much was there. And then they put it back into the cinematic mode. And you tried to find those points where it's like, okay, I want to try to find an error in this, and I couldn't find anything.
Right. I couldn't find a seam. I couldn't find any screen tearing. And I understand to a point the argument that this doesn't look like that much of a graphical leap from current gen. I understand that until you go into the room and they've got those, they showed the one statue and said however many, million or billion triangles are in that single
33
statue.
33 million triangles.
33 million triangles. And then the room opens up and it's just filled with the same statue over and over and over and over again. And so now there are billions of triangles on the screen at one time without a single shred of slowdown. And that just blew me away because that's the that's the increase here.
And a tech demo, they wouldn't show you the slowdown though.
True. Yeah, we didn't see it live.
The more impressive part for me wasn't so much the statue, it was looking at the character's face.
See, I think the face is actually where I understood the complaints, because the face did not look as photorealistic as some things I've seen in the past.
Now, this, I'm sure Zack will be able to back me up on this, but Uncanny Valley is definitely becoming a thing, where it looks too real to be real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was strange to look at it, but almost every part of this face, the way it was sculpted to me, looked almost perfect. It looked too perfect to me.
Man, I thought it had that doll face effect a little bit, but what were you going to say, Zach?
Oh, just because, oh man, I don't know if we're ready. I just, for me, I thought it did look technically impressive and almost next gen-y. But for me, I just, I kind of don't care.
Well, you're not a graphics guy.
Yeah, and I know, I feel like I'm pretty open about it. Like, technical fidelity does not usually excite me at all. But I thought the game itself looked friggin' sweet.
Yeah.
I am upset that it is not a real video game.
I honestly thought at the beginning that it was a Tomb Raider game.
Well, it does look very much like it. It looked right up my alley, man. It looked like a very much a me game, and I was devastated. It is just a tech demo.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people were.
which I know they had that Samaritan demo for Unreal 4 that a lot of people wanted to be real as well. So I mean, no, it looked really good, and I heard on a game developer podcast I listened to that the stuff they're promising about like level of detail is insane and like almost hard to believe. In that normally when you make a model for an engine, you do your super high res asset, right? But then you also have to build a lower res asset that you're going to use for like 10 to 50 meters away, then like a lower res one that you also have to paint, and like from even further away. So it takes you like 3 weeks to model a gun, basically.
Oh, wow.
But in Unreal Engine 5, they're saying they're automating the level of detail process. So you would just make your high res asset, and the engine would fix it for you. So a 3-week process becomes a 2-day process.
Well, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah. Well, what he was saying, this is Mike Bithell, who makes like Thomas is Alone and stuff. On his podcast, he was just saying that it would make an indie budget able to make games look as good as PS4 games, basically. If what Unreal is promising is true, which he is having a hard time believing, but that is the promise.
It still gets me excited. One of the things that CB lightly touched on was the Lumen technology. This is the dynamic lighting, and the way it was explained in a video I watched was it's ray tracing on steroids, which I have yet to experience ray tracing. I've seen some videos of like Control with its ray tracing where you can see the reflections on the surfaces, and it's really impressive. In this video where they showed the lighting in the cave, and they basically moved the light source of that looked real, man. I don't know how much more real you can make that look. Like when she walks up to the rock, normally when you look at like rock like that in games and you come from a distance, it looks cool, but then you get closer to it and then you start seeing the imperfections and you start seeing the individual pixels or whatever. This did not lose any of that as the character came closer to the rocks, and that kind of blew me away.
Did you watch this in 4K, by the way?
I mean, the video said it was in 4K, but I was not watching it on a 4K monitor. I was watching it on my MacBook, which is brand new. So,
yeah, I watched it on my 4K, and it looks beyond gorgeous. So
yeah, maybe I need to do that. It looked good on my screen, so I if it can look better, then I'm all about it. So
it looks good. I just want to see I want to see those new next gen ideas.
Right.
You know, what's the next Nemesis system?
Yeah, you're all about the mechanics, the game mechanics.
Yeah, or just how can we improve the storytelling through the next gen hardware?
Yeah. I'm down. I'm down. Let's do it. One of the story I wanted to talk about very quickly, just because I woke up to this trailer being announced, I was very, very giddy when I saw that Paper Mario: The Origami King is a thing.
Oh wow, that is not the story I thought you were going to talk about.
No,
because I was going to
talk about Tony Hawk.
I woke up giddy to a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 trailer.
Yeah, I have a confession to make. I have never played Tony Hawk.
I'll have a confession to make. I didn't know they announced a new Paper Mario game until I saw the format for this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Dude, it escaped my radar completely.
Oh, it looks so good. I know that there was that Paper Mario game on Wii. I think it was Super Paper Mario, which wasn't like a turn-based JRPG. It was kind of an action game, and it wasn't terrible. But I miss the old format of Paper Mario and then Paper Mario 2, The Thousand Year Door, with the funny dialogue and the turn-based combat. And of course, we got the Mario and Luigi games, which a couple of them were great, but they just didn't quite have the same, I don't know what you call it, I cannot think of the whimsy that the original Paper Mario had. And this looks to be bringing it back in such a good way. They've even like revamped the combat. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer, but the combat is like in a circle. They've done some kind of circular pattern, so it's all about setting up the enemies in a certain way that you get the most attack, or I don't understand how it works yet. All I know is that the 17th is going to be a very difficult day for my pocketbook with this and Tsushima dropping in the same time. So I think I'm going to be playing these games for quite a while because they both look outstanding. Who's with me?
They do look really good. And I mean, almost every one of these games that was announced within the past week, I'm going to be buying. So, because I was a big Tony Hawk guy. I know you never played it, but playing that in next gen and then like the Paper Mario, you and I have been talking about a new Paper Mario forever. So
right.
So the fact that that's actually coming now.
Paper Mario and the Origami Killer.
Oh, there's memes all over the internet already of people taking the screenshot or the box art from Heavy Rain and mixing it somehow with Paper Mario. Within 10 minutes. That's
exactly where my brain went.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it. Did you see the trailer yet?
Yeah. I think
Does it look good?
It feels like one of those, like, it's a natural next step that you never thought of kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, of course the Paper Mario game franchise would become Origami at some point.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. It kind of makes me want to go back and play the original in the second one. Thousand Year Door had some of the best dialogue. Hilarious dialogue with Luigi especially.
I mean, Mario RPG held up.
Yes, you're right. We actually talked about that recently on Patreon. That was a good one. Tony Hawk is interesting because I feel that the people that are going to want to play that are the people that grew up in the 90s, know who Tony Hawk is, and played these games already. I feel like, and I don't mean this to sound bad, I feel like that whole genre is going to be lost in the current generation. My students have no clue who Tony Hawk is.
You and I talked about this very briefly the other day on the fact that the kind of rise of the X games during our teenage years and into our 20s was huge, and now it's kind of taken a back seat. I mean, the fact that I can say, like, you know who Tony Hawk is, but like Matt Hoffman, Bob Burnquist, Kelly Slater, like those guys, like, I know who they are. I don't know if you know who they are.
See, I hear Kelly Slater and I think Saved by the Bell, even though that's two different characters, but that's where my mind goes.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I played all those because there was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer, Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX, and then like Shaun White's Pro Snowboarding.
Yep.
Well, that was many years later, Shaun White.
Yeah, that was like towards the tail end of those style of games.
Right.
But like around the same time you had Tony Hawk, you had like 1080 snowboarding.
Tricky, SSX Tricky.
Yeah, the SSX series. So I'm just excited.
Let's get a remaster of SSX 3, man.
Just all three of them. All of them were good. I'm more excited.
I feel like, why couldn't they? Why do you think they didn't just do Tony Hawk 1, 2, and 3?
I don't know. It could have been a licensing right with the music, because I know that's
you think so?
That's a big thing, is the fact that all the original music is coming back minus a few tracks.
Yeah, there are only 5 tracks missing.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited for that, because I miss the old soundtracks for games in that era, especially like on GameCube, because that's where I played majority of my Tony Hawk time, and then like MLB The Show, not MLB The Show, but the Major League Baseball series during the time. The music soundtrack for that was great. So I'm excited for that part of it, and just being able to like play skateboarding games again with such great music from that era.
Weren't we listening to Superman in my classroom when you were helping me clean up my classroom the other day?
Yep. Oh, no, we were listening to some Goldfinger and Mustard Plug.
Well, Goldfinger did Superman. That's what I was saying. Yeah. And yeah, even though I didn't play these games, I know that song is attached to that game. It's you kind of immediately think of it for some reason, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'll get into that, because I played the SSX games and I had fun with that, but Tony Hawk, I just never did. I just missed that. And I mean, do kids still skateboard like that? I barely see anybody at the skate park in my town ever.
Yeah, I don't see them there much anymore either. But
in Chicago, I did not. But Kansas City, people skateboard quite a bit out here, it seemed like.
Okay.
Though I will say it does present an interesting opportunity, because the original Tony Hawk games, when I had them on N64, were great couch co-op games.
Okay.
So
yeah, pass the controller, try to see what objectives you get done in your 2 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or see who
those games are great for that.
Pull off the biggest trick possible.
Yeah, I want to do the 900, man.
Yeah, I missed that for some reason. As for the Mafia Trilogy, I could take it or leave it. I played a little bit of Mafia 3, and it just didn't grab me for some reason. But I've heard good things about the second one.
The second one feels a lot like a Scorsese movie. They do a very good job of making it feel like a movie.
Okay.
And for some stretches, almost too good a job. Where you'll just kind of watch and then walk for a little bit and then kind of watch some more.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
But it is, I thought, very compelling.
Cool. Well, that's going to do it for the news.
Mafia 1's great. Sorry. That's all. Mafia 1, great game.
Oh, it was good?
Yeah. You had to obey the speed limit or else you get ticketed.
I don't like that. I don't want to do the speed limit in a Mafia game. Anyway, that's going to do it for the news. Just want to give you guys a quick heads up. As we mentioned every week, we are an independently funded podcast, which means we got to pay for everything. Podcast hosting services, websites, all that. So what we've done is we've asked for help from you guys with a Patreon, but we're going to give back to you guys with that as well. We offer some bonus episodes. And if you'd like to help out, you can help out at patreon.com/thegocast. $3 a month. As it stands right now, will get you access to all of our bonus content. We may be switching that up in the future, so stay tuned for that. But CB, what's currently available for the members that are contributing?
Man, a whole bunch of stuff. Our Final Fantasy VII spoiler cast, which had Scott, Zack, Brandon Smith, and Patrick Klein. The Break the Seal Super Metroid between you and Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Still sad I wasn't on that one. But upcoming, you and I just recorded a drinking game trivia game with Spencer, myself, and you. That
was a lot of fun, by the way. That was I know a lot of people keep saying that they miss the R rating, or they wish you're a little bit more R rated. That's Patreon for you guys.
that definitely went there.
Yes.
So, Retro Reminisce Chrono Trigger episode.
I actually joined that one last minute because we had someone that was not available. So it was me, Chad, and Spencer sitting down talking about one of Chad's favorite games of all time, Chrono Trigger, and it was fun to reminisce about that game.
Yeah, and then we also have our Break the Seal Uncharted collection coming up with David Newman from the community.
Yes, it does. It might be pushed back a month later because Spencer wants to play those games too, and he wants to go through all 4 of them. So stay tuned for that. But if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you or any of our past episodes, again, please give us throw a dollar in there for us at patreon.com/thegocast. We really do appreciate it. You guys are the reason that we are able to keep doing this podcast because you guys are helping pay for it. With that, let's go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. So as I mentioned on Facebook and Discord and Twitter, The Go has gone through some major changes, both already and some in the works. We've done some restructuring recently internally, and even hinted at opening a storefront to sell some 3D printed video game items. We'll have more details on that in the future, but we decided it was time to shake things up with the podcast itself a bit as well. So we asked all of you guys to fill out a survey about the state of the podcast, as well as ways that we can make it a better listening experience for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to share some of those ideas and discuss it in an attempt to make the Go a better product for all of you. Now, we got lots and lots and lots of comments. We cannot get to every single one of them, but we're going to read some of the ones that were from Facebook as well as the survey itself, kind of discuss it and see what things we can do to shake things up around here. Let's start with Facebook. And the first comment we got was from Scott Boers. He said, "My only suggestion I wrote down was that I wouldn't mind if you took longer to play games. I don't need you to always play something new. I would be happy if you talked about a game that you were playing for weeks on end. Also, I don't want you guys getting burned out or flat sick of playing games that really don't interest you just to have something new to play and talk about." Thoughts from you guys?
Hey, I've always said you should play games for fun, Scott.
I know.
Instead of
I'm the problem here.
Sort of forcing your way through the Game Pass catalog just to find something.
Right. I'm guilty of that. I admit it. I also feel like here's my thing. I have always wanted to be a video game journalist. That's kind of been a dream of mine since I was 13 years old. And as I keep striving towards that, I'm always in the mindset of I got to get a review out as quickly as possible for it to be relevant. So it's my own fault. I get a game that I want to review. I feel like if it's a week or two past its release, it's old news and nobody's going to read it. The developers aren't going to care. So that's my fault, and I have been listening to that. I've been listening to Zack a little bit as well. I played For Me this week, which we'll get to in the games we've been playing segment.
I will say, Scott, I'm sorry. Scott Boers, not Scott Clark. I'm a little bit of an odd duck because I like to torment myself with any game I can get my hands on.
All right, so, Tour de Force 2020 coming your way.
No, I tried that once. I'm not going back. So I'll admit that I tried to rush through because there's just so many games out there that I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've slowed down a lot over like the past week. I mean, I've spent so much time playing Final Fantasy VII. So, and kind of happy about that.
That's cool.
Right.
And I think that's part of it too, is I always get annoyed when I listen to a podcast and I hear them talk about the same game every single week, especially I won't call out any specific podcast, but there are certain games that they've been playing. Like if I talked about Soulguard every week, I talked about Soulguard for like 3 or 4 weeks and I got a lot of flack. Like, is Scott going to stop talking about Soulguard? So I stopped. I'm still playing it, but I'm not going to talk about it every week because I just assume nobody wants to hear that.
Did you get your dailies done today?
I did. I got my dailies done.
You're my hero. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a balancing act, right? Because you want to have new things to talk about, so people get bored. But also, our thoughts evolve and change as we play through a game.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you guys, I don't need to talk about like, oh, I played through Spider-Man for the 4th time this week. Nobody needs to hear that.
Yeah, well, you could mention it and just be done with it, I suppose. But I don't know.
And I feel that there's just so many games that come out that sometimes we just miss things. Like I actually completely forgot that Predator Hunting Grounds came out.
Right.
And I was like, that's a game that's been on my radar for a while. So sometimes it is what it is.
Well, and we do play a lot of games, and sometimes we do suffer through games that aren't necessarily for us or we don't love. But for me, part of going through those titles are, finding that diamond in the rough, finding that game I never would have discovered otherwise. I mean, I think the podcast itself and the community as a whole is a reason why I've come across some games I never would have played before. I was talking with some people in the community today about Katana Zero. I never would have played that game if Matt hadn't recommended that game, just swore up and down that it was a fantastic game. I was like, all right, I'll play it, and I loved it.
I would have never played Dead Cells.
Yeah. And when I come across these games that we can review, you guys aren't even seeing all the ones that I actually could request. CB and Zack can attest. How many games do I post a day? Be like, hey, does anybody want me to pursue this one? I can. Sometimes I'm posting 5 or 6 different games, and how many of them nobody ever says a thing?
Yeah.
Right. So we're not hitting every little single game that we can. But if someone has interest in something and I can get it, we get it and talk about it. Just sometimes it doesn't pan out. We don't love it as much as we do. Anyway, next comment comes from Nick Brown on Facebook. He says, wish the YouTube videos were videos and not audio only. See the expressions and emotions when talking, get animated with it. This is something that I feel like we promised a long, long time ago that we were going to do some kind of streaming. I think we're going to... The problem is editing. Nate, our producer, edits the podcast so that it makes it sound very, very good. He edits out all of, if we cough or if somebody sneezes or whatever, he gets rid of all that garbage that you don't want to hear on a podcast. If we do a video podcast, we can't do that. So the video is going to be very, very raw. But we're looking into it. So Nick, stay tuned. We're going to be cooking up some things. It's just, we got to figure out how to do it.
Plus, nobody wants to see this ugly mug every week.
I don't know.
Right. Oh, man, we'd have to start like showering before the podcast and wearing clothes. Like, you guys don't know, but Scott's not wearing a shirt right now.
I'd have to put on pants, man.
Yeah, see, it would be a lot. That's a lot to change.
Though, I don't know. I kind of want to pitch this to you guys. What about possibly doing a live video at like AMA with the Go Crew?
We could. I don't know who'd want to who would show up. I mean, I guess it'd be worth it to try it. But
yeah,
I mean, kind of our community questions episode is an AMA, right? We just don't do it live.
But it'd be fun to do it live.
We could.
We'll
We'd
see.
have to have a moderator. Man, there's so much that goes into that. But I like the idea of that, and it actually may be a tier. I've been wanting for a long time since we started Patreon to have a tier on Patreon where people can get a link, like to YouTube or whatever that's exclusive, where they can actually join in and watch us record it live and interact with us like in a text box or whatever, for like a higher tier on Patreon. I think that would be kind of fun. So I just got to figure out how to make all that work. I promise that I'm going to put some time into figuring that out here in the near future. I've just got a lot of juggling I'm doing right now with other things we're trying to get going here. But I promise, Nick, that we are looking into that. So Joel Solinsky says weekly online gatherings for different games, or just virtual, or just hang virtual happy hour, maybe, he said. Which is funny because virtual happy hour is actually what Spencer does with his podcast, and I'll give him a quick plug right now. He's got a beer podcast called Screw City Hopheads that he talks to different brewers and breweries, and he does a really good job. But they have a weekly hangout where they just kind of get on a Zoom call and drink beer and BS for a little while, and I'm planning on actually being on this one this weekend, so that's a good idea too.
Yeah, it's fun. I've done it a few times.
Have you? We we definitely need to do some more community game nights. We can't even get the three of us to play a game together. We've been sitting on Borderlands, okay, and I got to stop talking about it, but the three of us need to play some games together and play with the community together. Joel's absolutely right. Let's do some online stuff together. Can we do that?
Yeah. Shoot, if anybody from the community sees me online on Xbox and wants to play a game, just hit me up, man. I'll gladly play.
What's your gamer tag so they can find you?
It is Red Focktober.
You may need to spell that for them.
REDFAAQTOBER.
I like it.
We'll link it in the show notes.
And also, speaking of virtual hangouts, we are doing a virtual hangout this Saturday. Can somebody check the time on that for me while I'm kind of explaining it? Because I don't remember what time that is. But it's on Saturday, and I believe David Newman and Mo and Matt are putting it together. We're going to be playing some Jackbox games. And as many people want to show up, I don't have to play. I can just sit and watch. I just want to hang out with everybody and have some laughs and drink some beer. It should be a good time. I know he's got Jackbox 3 and Jackbox 6. And I've also got a couple games on Steam that I could pitch in as well, too, like Drawful 2, Fibbage, and Quiplash I think I've got as well, too. So did you find the time on that, anybody?
6 Pacific, 5 Central Time.
5 Central Time.
Wait, right? No, that's not right. 8 p.m. Central Time.
8 p.m.
9
Central
Eastern,
time.
6 Pacific.
Okay. So the time for that is 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Obviously, that is in the evening. We'll be playing an evening game, and that is this Saturday. I apologize. Last week I said it was this past Saturday, and I had the date wrong, and I misspoke, so I apologize. But yeah, looking forward to hanging out with you guys. We need to do that some more. All right, that was Facebook. We're going to go on to the survey. Now, I'm going to keep this one anonymous because we didn't ask anybody if it was okay to say their name, so we're just going to read these comments. Most things are positive. Give more negatives so someone who hasn't bought something yet has a better idea of good and bad. Thoughts on that comment?
I mean, I'll gladly throw some shade at a game, but we've always tried to keep things in a positive light here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel moving forward, we definitely can be a little more critical on a lot of games.
Agreed. I'm going to try to do that. Try to be less Pollyanna and be more critical, because if I want to be taken seriously as a critic, I have to be able to say some negative things about a game.
I mean,
it's hard to send a review back to a developer when you're saying a lot of bad things about it, right, Zach?
Yes, yeah. What did I give The Inner Friend? What, 3.5? 3.5?
I think so, yeah.
So it's not fun to be negative, and every other podcast seems to be doing that for us anyway. So we do skew a little more positive, but I mean, I don't feel like we're afraid to be honest, right? I mean, you know, if I dare utter the name infamously, I got a lot of flack for being honest about how I felt about Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty negative about that game. So I mean, it's, you know, we try to be positive, yes, but we're also honest.
I agree, and that's one thing I'm going to back you up on, Zach, is I know that you are being honest. I know that you can come across like you're just trying to be different for the sake of being different, but I know you, and I know that you're just being honest about how you feel a game, how you feel about a game. I think you were telling me when we were texting about this earlier today, like you got a lot of flack because you didn't like the original Avengers movie, which I did.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people, you know. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that about me before. Like, oh, you're just trying to be different. And I've always just been honest. Like, it's not fun to be the one guy who doesn't enjoy things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make me feel superior or anything. Like, it sucked leaving the event. Like, yeah, like I use the example of Avengers for you because everyone I knew in my life was head over heels about that movie. But like, I thought the first act I still think the first act of Avengers is wretched, just bad movie making, and that's not fun to leave the theater and be like, yeah, guys, it was okay, right? And everyone's like, are you crazy? The best movie ever. Like, it's not fun to be the weird guy out. Like, I wish I could love the current Assassin's Creed's way people do, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't want to be dishonest and say I do, where, look, I mean, I was jazzed for Uncharted 4, at least when the Amy Hennig was heading it. Mm-hmm. But then it just, you know, it told the same story, same character beats as Uncharted 3. So, like, for me, it didn't land. It's not that I just wanted to be that guy who didn't like Uncharted 4. You know, I mean, my favorite game ever is a freaking Star Wars game. You know, like, it's as mainstream as it gets.
Right.
Well, I mean, I feel that there's games that even, like, I don't like that everybody loves. Like, I can't stand playing Mass Effect games.
But to me, that's madness.
Yeah, I'd rather gouge my eyes out with a wooden spoon. So.
Wow, I wait for bated breath to be able to replay the Mass Effect games.
You go right ahead and do it. I might try for 2 hours again and then just stop. So
those are 2 2/3 of amazing games. Let me tell you.
2 2/3. So yeah, but back to the comment from the survey. I will personally try to be a little bit more critical and give, you know, positives and negatives about a game. I struggled coming up with any negatives about Final Fantasy VII Remake because I just love that game. And any negatives that there were in that, which I admit there are some, but they didn't affect my experience. I really loved that game. I loved every minute of that game. And
yeah, man. Even with the gift of time, I can't really think of anything negative about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I can.
I'm sure you can, CV.
So,
but again, it's all objective, right?
Yeah.
Some people will look at that, you know, some issues that you've got with it and say that's an imperfect game. I can look at it and say it's an imperfect game. There are some slight issues, but it was perfect for me.
Right.
You know, and there's something to be said about that. It's not perfect for you, but it was perfect for me.
You can't look at a score of 10 as objective perfection because there is no such thing.
Yeah.
But subjectively to you, that critic, it was a 10. You know, mm-hmm. FF7, 10 for you. Fallen Order, 10 for me. I don't know if CB's got any 10s, but
no, to this day I don't still think I've given something the 10.
I went back and looked. I actually did give Link's Awakening Remake a 10 out of 10 as well, which seems kind of cheating because that game was already so good, and they really did just make that game look prettier and made some functionality better. But it was great. Enjoyed every minute of that. Anyway, let's go on. Next one is a little bit of a repeat, but there's some good stuff in here. One person said, it wouldn't bother me at all if it took you guys a while to play a game and you talked about it every week until you were done. Sometimes I feel like you rush through games just so you have something new to talk about. Guilty as charged. I'm working on that.
This is, this is something on other podcasts I listen to. I do love is hearing the week-to-week progression of somebody playing through a game.
Right.
I mean, even if it's week 6, just to see where they're at and see if they're still loving it or not, or because some games fall off and some games pick up. Metro Exodus famously, like really picks up at the end. So like this is something I love, but it always just kind of felt like something I didn't think people would want to hear.
Yeah, and that's kind of why we did this, because I didn't think people want to hear me talking about the same game every week either. But there was a good number of comments like this that said, hey, take your time, go through the game. We want to hear about it each week. I'm shocked because when I listen to podcasts, I just did what I thought everybody wanted because that's what I wanted. I hate it when people talk about a game a second time. Oh, I really don't.
Yeah. I will say one of the problems I do have with constantly updating someone on a game is then at some point in time, you kind of bridge that moment where you start touching like spoiler territory.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, oh, well, I talked about the combat system last week. I really enjoyed that. I talked about how the game looks. Okay, I've played it for a little bit longer. I want to tell you more about it, but there was this big story beat that happened, but I don't want to spoil it for the people that are playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
at least they're not spoiling it, but still.
I was gonna say, you can even dance around and be like, oh man, yeah, the story, like halfway through the game, do something crazy happens. Let me tell you, like, it shifts the narrative, and I'm reinvigorated. Like there are ways to dance around it.
Yeah, but so I mean, there are some games I know Zack talked about Days Gone for quite a while, and we beat.
It's so funny. So funny you bring that up. I just started playing that again last week.
Oh my god!
I gotta go for that platinum, man. That game is good.
I know we beat Red Dead 2 with a pretty large hammer over and over.
Hey, you
want
to talk about we're not critical enough. Everybody in this podcast is critical of Red Dead 2.
Yes,
I don't think any of us liked it, did we?
Yeah. So
I liked parts of it, but overall, if I had to give it a rating, I'd say it was like a 6.5.
Well, that's still a good score.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4.
So, but like I said, I like those kind of games. It was pretty.
I'll give it a 4, but I do want to replay it one day.
Yes.
But that's what's interesting is I felt like we got a lot of crap for not liking that game. Didn't we?
Right. Well, there are certain games that you're supposed to like. Do you know what I mean? Like if Cyberpunk comes out and we don't like that game, we may as well cancel the show.
You're probably right.
I've never seen a game have more hype than Cyberpunk 2077.
You're absolutely right. There's another comment that kind of went along with the other one. It says, the games you play or review could use a shakeup, maybe not play so many obscure indie games. I know it's for review copies, but having a better quality of games to talk about maybe would be more interesting. And this person is right. We do review a lot of indie games, a lot of games you've never heard of. But again, this is all for the purpose of trying to find that hidden gem game that we never would have discovered. I don't know that I ever would have played Children of Morta if it hadn't been presented to me as for review. I probably never would have given that game a chance, and it wound up being my favorite of the year. That, and in order for us to be able to get review copies of AAA games, we have to get ourselves noticed somehow, and I think that's why I've been focusing so much on getting as many as we can, just to prove to some of the higher end developers that we'd like to cover your guys' stuff too. And that's why. But I can pull that back a little bit. But those developers deserve reviews too.
Yeah, and I mean, and just even selfishly for the show, you're right. It's the little games are the building blocks to have the credibility and credentials to get the codes from the big guys.
Right.
Or to get the access.
And it's not just because we don't want to pay for games. I want to be taken seriously by the industry and be able to provide a review for a game on release day. Like I think we did that for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, didn't we? Have that out actually like the day before it released or something? And that felt awesome. I mean, we could still talk about it, but we really want to be able to provide that kind of stuff to you guys as early as possible, which I know we just got to find the right balancing act, I think. Isn't it? We got to, find the good mixture of the two.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, we've hit almost every AAA title this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like of the big like tentpole titles.
Except for Predator Hunting Grounds, right?
That's not a tentpole, man.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time.
but I'm gonna play it. I did pick it up today, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh, well, like I said, I was walking through Walmart and I'm like, oh man, this game came out. Crap. Now I gotta play this.
Can't not have it.
It's Predator, man. It falls into the Xeno universe. I love it.
I like the beta quite a bit, but I don't know if I want to pay $40 for it.
All right, the next comment says, branch out of the PG rating. And there was a second comment that said, I personally prefer a more R-rated format, but it's a very minor issue. I don't know how long it's been since I've said this. We keep it PG rating, not because we're prudes, not because we don't swear like crazy outside of this podcast. I'm a 4th grade teacher, and I have to keep it clean for the sake of my job, because my students know that I podcast. They might listen to the podcast. Their parents might listen to the podcast, and it does not reflect well on my school and on my district to do so. Plus, we have a lot of families that contact us and say, we really appreciate that we can actually listen to this with our kids around and not have to worry about it.
That's probably the thing I hear most about the show.
Yeah.
From people is thanking us for having a gaming podcast they can listen to around their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And not for nothing, but I mean, every other video game podcast is explicit.
Right.
So it just kind of is a little bit, it does behoove us to be a little more, and we're not prudes. Yeah, you can listen to our Patreon content. We'll swear plenty there.
That was going to be my next point. If you really want to hear us swear like sailors, well, maybe not like sailors, but we do cut loose quite a bit on the Patreon content. There's not really any filter. We don't edit anything out, and it's a little bit more loose. So if you really do want some of that content, consider checking out Patreon.
Yeah.
I know when I was hanging out with Stoy, I was doing a podcast with them, and he was saying, boy, you guys never hear Scott swear on the podcast. Just hang out with him in person.
Yeah.
That
is, I can attest for that. That is a true statement.
Yes, I am much more sexually explicit off this podcast as well.
Next comment says, I'd really like to hear more community members on the show. Hearing another voice on there and their opinions is nice to hear. I want to know how you guys feel about this, because this is a comment that is interesting, because I felt like I got comments on both sides of this. Multiple people said they want to hear more community members, and multiple people said, please keep it to just the core members and not have community. So how do you guys feel about that?
I like the opinion of community members. I love having them on the show and talking with them.
Same.
We've had issues on occasion where we like to keep our audio very nice and pleasing to listen to. Sometimes that's not controllable with community members.
Mm-hmm. But
that being said, anytime a community member wants to come on, like I loved having community members on Patreon episodes with me. But every now and then I do like having community members on the main show. It's just sometimes it's very hard to control.
Right. When we are recording remotely, we cannot control the other person's environment. We can't control their audio equipment. We can't control nervousness on a microphone or presence on a microphone. We can't control that. So a lot of times it's a stab in the dark to see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And so I don't know. I'm really unsure what to do. My whole idea for starting this podcast was to do that. And that was what was going to set us apart, is that we were going to invite anybody to come on from our community to be a guest. And we've had multiple times where there was one time where we recorded with somebody that we just had to flat out not even record. I had to tell them, sorry, we can't do this. The audio is, yeah. And I probably hurt his feelings, but I just could not. I'm not going to go into detail what it was, because I don't want to single this person out, but we just couldn't release content like that. So we're looking at ways that we can vet some of the listeners and potential guests with, like, sending in a recording so we can hear your environment. Because I know someone that says that anybody can podcast, and I don't know that that's necessarily true. and this is not me saying I'm a great podcaster. I just get up in here and talk about games for a couple hours each week. I'm not a awesome podcaster, but not everybody can get in front of a microphone and be comfortable. And it really sucks when you're talking to somebody that's not used to being in front of a camera and gets nervous, and then they're just not comfortable and the conversation doesn't feel natural. So it's really about striking that balance of finding someone that's a good conversationalist, has good mic presence, and we're going to work on that. Is the bottom line answer.
Man, if anybody's curious, go ahead, Zach.
So I just don't like anybody. So that's that's kind of a hang up.
You don't like anybody?
Yeah. That was a joke, just in case anybody couldn't detect.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to just see, like, go back to my first time on the show, episode 50, Fallout 4. I was a nervous wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And it came through. So,
we're coming on 300 episodes of this, and I did however many episodes of The Hollywood Outsider before that. I've got 8 years of doing this, so I'm obviously comfortable behind the mic, and sometimes I forget that some people aren't as comfortable, and I have to be empathetic in that regard.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a couple more here. I like the themes more than the recent gaming news. I also don't usually listen to them right away, so I guess more of a focus on topics that hold up over time as opposed to upcoming releases. That's an interesting theory, because I know that our podcast is very time-centric because the reviews and the news are time-dependent. Nobody wants to hear news from 6 months ago if you're just listening to it for the first time. I'm not sure how to tackle that. We've talked about doing 3 episodes a week, shorter episodes, doing one just for news, one for reviews, one for
community topic
or whatever the outside in topic is. That's a lot of extra work.
The name of the show is The Gaming Outsider. Nobody could think of From the Outside In is the name of the segment.
Yeah. That's true.
Come on, guys.
I know. I apologize.
I mean, there are timestamps, right? For every episode? You just skip the news if you don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, we do put timestamps in there.
So just get past that. And the From the Outside In segment is relatively evergreen. So you can just kind of listen to those whenever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think we do spend because we love talking about the news. Maybe we love talking about it too much. I don't know, but
that's the thing is we talk very little. I mean, not very little, but I feel like at least I do. I try to stray away from getting into in-depth conversations with you guys over text and stuff on the news topics or on the games I've been playing because I want to save it for the podcast. So this is the time that we get together and can actually talk about the things that we've been wanting to talk about all week, right? So we got to figure out a way to strike that balance. But all right, let's see. I got one more. And again, we could not hit everybody, so if you did not hear your comment, please don't be offended. But we did read every single comment, and we do appreciate all the feedback, and we're taking every single bit of it into consideration, so thank you. But the last comment says, as much as I personally love every bit of banter between the boys, it may be helpful to not go too far down any tangents. I think the length of episodes is perfect, but if it were filled with more relevant content as opposed to talking about food or whatever, it may be easier for people to be hooked on the show. I would love more community play as well. Some official organizations should be helpful in that regard. Streaming it and having live play in an Xbox party or Discord would be a lot of fun. Yeah, we do go down tangents on occasion.
Yeah, that does. This comment actually reminds me. Did you guys see the Flamin' Hot Drio Locos tacos back? Taco Bell, so that's very exciting.
Great.
It was away for several months.
Oh my goodness.
No, I mean the occasional tangent is fun. I remember how when we talked about Star Wars for 6 weeks in a row when Rise of Skywalker came out. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I feel like tangents keep a podcast human, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we do not need to talk about Taco Bell for 15 minutes, though I easily could.
Oh, me too. I actually feel that tangents are what make podcasts enjoyable, because occasionally you do dive down a rabbit hole, and it's fun to kind of look around and enjoy the view.
As long as it doesn't get too far. And that's where, if I weren't here, I feel like the rabbit holes would go way deeper than they do.
Probably.
If it was just CB and I?
Yeah.
We probably forget to talk about video games.
Yeah, you'd be talking about comics and Alien and like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but all these things are in video games.
Yeah, I mean, well, you say that, right? But you know the CB and I love comic books because of those occasional tangents.
Right.
You know, tangents kind of help fill out the host personality on a podcast. It kind of feels weird when you're on a podcast that you're hosting. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to other podcasts, you can learn more about the hosts based on what they do get excited to tangent about.
That's true.
You know, it just
start a podcast called The Tangent.
I would be amazed if that's somehow not happened yet.
Yeah, it's got.
I used to have this idea for a podcast where it would just be me at a job, and I would just interview a coworker every week about their lives. And that would be like a tangent show.
Yeah. I always wanted to, when I was on a cruise with my wife and a bunch of the Hollywood Outsider listeners and crew, we were talking because we were all hanging out with our wives. And we were jokingly talking about, I shouldn't even say this on the air because, okay, copyright The Gaming Outsider. This is our idea, but of having a podcast called Married to the Mic, which is a podcast all about the wives of podcasters and how they put up with their husbands, or I guess not necessarily just wives, but husbands, because obviously there's a lot of female podcasters out there as well too, but spouses of podcasters that put up with all this crap. From week to week.
Oh, my wife would have plenty to say.
Yeah, my wife would too. There's like four episodes I'm recording this week.
It's funny you say that because but like 8 weeks into that podcast, don't they just become podcasters themselves?
Right, which is
the point.
Part of what I was going for.
Yeah. Fair enough. Touche. I get it now.
But it would be a way to get my wife into it at the same time, like so we can actually like share in this podcast because she hates that I do this. It's like my life is consumed by The Gaming Outsider. But
anyway, you tell her to stuff it, all right?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to everybody for all the feedback. We will be doing a drawing for everybody that contributed to that. I'll be doing that sometime this week. I will close out the survey, and but please keep that feedback coming. We do love hearing it, and we do take it to heart. And we're going to try to shake things up a little bit. I tried to shake it up a little bit. I did the news a little bit different this week. We decided to try to see how that goes, and I thought it went pretty well. So we'll see what's going to shake up.
DC Comics had a superhero universe called Tangent.
Did they?
Yeah, I just thought you should know that.
Okay, you're not going to let it go, are you?
What? I combined the things. That's called a joke.
I like it. All right. Well, speaking of social media, we've got some new Facebook members to say hello to. Adam Allingham and Kyle McBee, welcome to the Facebook group. If you'd like to join that community, the address is facebook.com/groups/thegocast. Also, our Discord community is live and thriving. The link to that is in the show notes. We've got 2 new members to say hello to. The first one, boy, QK2_P4R4D0X.
Quake 2 Paradox?
Is that what it is? Quake 2 Paradox?
I was going to say it's Quake 2 Paradox.
Okay, I should have just said that. And then also Swiss Moose, welcome to The Gaming Outsider. Also, we have a brand new iTunes review this week. I'm going to read it to you right now. This one comes from Caramel Bear, one of our new members over on Discord.
I'm a big fan of Caramel Bear.
Well, I think Caramel Bear is a big fan of you. The title of the review is Best Gaming Podcast, and this is what Caramel Bear says. There's really nothing else I can say that hasn't been said before, but I'll go ahead and add my own experience with the show. Scott, Zack, and CB with the rest of the Go crew offer a nice balance of news, games, and experiences with each of the games that are selected for analysis and review. Everyone in the podcast is positive, informative, knowledgeable, and fair when discussing games of all forms. Don't hesitate to subscribe to this podcast because if you're not listening to these guys now, you're doing yourself a huge disservice as a gamer. This podcast is passionate about games, and they do not judge you for the types of games you play, nor does platform matter. This is how the community should be, where all gamers, young or old, PC or console, or retro or modern, are welcome. These guys have helped me through my nights at work, and each person makes you feel part of the community, whether you like to simply listen to the podcast like I do, or for those that like to participate as well with social platforms. Either way, introverts and extroverts are all welcome. Thank you very much, Caramel Bear. That was a very well-written review, and I really appreciate it. And speaking of written reviews, we have some on our website as well, which is thegamingoutsider.com. If you'd like to check out some of the games we've been playing, Zach's review of The Inner Friend. You want to read a review that's critical? Check out that one. Also, you can find Rel's video review for Ion Fury, which was a really cool. He made some really good points in that video that I highly recommend everybody check out. Alyssa has a written review for Arcade Spirits. Spencer has a review for MegaByte Punch, and then I have my review for Good Goliath, which is a VR game I talked about a few weeks ago. Be sure to check that out. With that, let's go ahead and jump into the games we've actually been playing. All right, Zach, anything good coming up on the horizon?
So you're going to see this list. It's going to be huge and long, and this is about half the games I could find. This week is monstrous.
All right.
For some reason. A Fold Apart is a puzzle game where you have to fold paper to get a little couple together. It's going to PS4 and Xbox One May 19th.
All right.
We already had a Switch or PC release. Golf with Your Friends looks completely ridiculous. Is on PS4, Xbox One, Switch. May 19th as well. You play as a golf ball, and you're highly customizable, and you can just hang out on the putting green and stuff. It looks weird, man.
Is it a golfing game, though?
Yeah, you still golf. You still golf for the hole, but you can also just kind of hang out and chat. Like, everybody's username is above their golf ball, and you can wear little cowboy hats in your golf ball, or... It's preposterous.
I love golf
think of
games.
CB in terms of ridiculousness. If you like golf games, this is your week, Scott.
All right.
Gorn, a gladiatorial PSVR game, comes out May 19th. The Wonderful 101 Remastered has come out in what seems like a record time on PS4, Switch, and PC, May 19th. That seems way too early for that. But all right, I'll take it. The game looks rad. Red Wings, Aces of the Sky is a cool-looking flight combat game.
I will be talking about that one next week.
Perfect. What the Golf, coming off of the Apple Arcade exclusivity and coming over to Switch, May 21st. That game is hilarious.
Play that game. Seriously, play that game.
It is so good. Man Eater, where the game where they call it the Shark RPG. It's coming PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC May 22nd. This looks ridiculous.
I was going to say I've been waiting forever for this. So
it's the successor to Jaws Unleashed. We all never knew we needed. In this, Saints Row the Third is getting remastered for PS4, Xbox One, and PC on May 22nd. And Sword Art Online, Alicization Lycoris, coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, also on May 22nd. Man, Sword Art seems to be a well that never dries. And also, happy birthday, Mom. Her birthday is May 22nd.
Aww.
Nice.
So she's probably going to be playing some Saints Row the Third, I imagine.
You know, I never got very far in Saints Row the Third. I feel like I'm going to pick that up and play it and try it again. But I was
surprised in the trailer how good it looks. It looks like they actually put some serious work into it. And Saints Row the Third is a freaking awesome game.
The bit I played was hilarious, and it's mildly disturbing, some of the stuff that happens. There's a character that has auto-tune that's a pimp, I think.
Yes.
And at one point he's like riding a chariot that's being pulled by these shirtless dudes with masks on their face, or like it's just weird.
It's just the first game was just a hardcore crime video game with like undercover cops and serious tense moments. Mm-hmm. And then 2 was like still really serious, but the side quests got incredibly wacky.
And there's a rubber ducky in the ocean.
And then the third game, they just didn't care anymore. They just went for it. And I mean, the final boss in that game has I'm holding out for a hero playing on a loop, and it's delightful.
That's awesome. I'm actually with CB. I really want to play Maneater as well. Me too. It looks like stupid fun.
It caught my eye big time. I was not expecting that. I do really want to play the Wonderful 101, but I don't know. It feels like a big investment right now.
I'm going to be playing it, so I'm getting a physical copy, but because it's delayed, I got a digital version sent to me. So
on Switch, or what are you playing it on?
I will be playing it on PC.
Oh, really?
My. Curveball.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
Me neither.
Nice. Very cool.
So,
anyway, Zach, you got your hands on a copy of John Wick Hex on PS4, and I know that Spencer reviewed this for us a while back, but it seems like a game that you would have dug as well. What did you think of it?
Well, you're right. I should have dug it, but boy, I don't really like this game.
No, really?
Put that out there. Yeah.
I've
never. Yeah, I feel so disappointed. I guess I can't figure out if I'm just dumb. Maybe I don't understand. So it's like a turn-based almost strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's, I don't want to go over too much. And Spencer, I think, talked about it ages ago.
Right.
But everything's about time, right? So like if you want to shoot a gun, it takes 1 second. But the bad guy may have already begun firing, so he'll hit you in 0.7 seconds. So now on your turn, you have to decide, like, well, I can throw my gun at him, which only takes 0.3 seconds, so I'll cut him off on him shooting, but I don't know if I'll have enough time to, like, walk over to him, because that might take 1.2 seconds, and I don't know how long he'll be dazed.
So this sounds like you're like doing what people do when they play StarCraft, where they're trying to minutely, like, figure out how many seconds and fractions it takes to do all this stuff to maximize your resources. But
I think it's tremendously clever concept for a John Wick game, right? Because you could have made a John Wick game a few different ways. The most obvious would just be like, a stylish shooter, almost like that Wanted game, like PS3 or 360.
Right.
But so I think the turn-based strategy was a fun way to go. It just doesn't click with me. And I do like the story. They have Ian McShane and Lance Reddick from the movies are there. They do not have Keanu, which is an interesting choice, but they frame it in a cool way. The art style, I also think, is kind of wretched. It's kind of an ugly game to look at, and I don't often think that, but it stands out to me as being noteworthy.
See, ugly. I got that comic aesthetic from it, which I thought you would have dug.
Yeah, but I just don't. I guess I don't like the specific style they went with the way their lines are drawn. It is. I mean, it's not horrendous by any stretch. It's just it seems like the art. The art I do not like. The art is wretched. The game itself, I feel like I should like, but I'm just not liking it, right? Because I am, you could say I'm a Mike Bithell fanboy.
Yes.
I love every single one of his games, but this is, and it could just be, this is much less story focused than his games typically are. It seems to be much more about the gameplay, and just the specific gameplay just hasn't clicked for me. Which broke my heart.
That's too bad. That's a bummer.
But I do like it. It is a great way to represent how quick John Wick is thinking and reacting in those movies, right? Because he's taking everyone down so quickly,
right?
So I think it's a clever concept. It's just it didn't trip my trigger, as it were.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Well, I know Spencer liked it quite a bit. He played it on PC.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I feel like it makes me feel dumb. And I don't fancy myself as typically being dumb.
Oh, because you can't figure out the right way to do it? Or?
It took me a while to figure it out, but then I did kind of start taking on the bosses pretty easily. It's just not... It just doesn't excite me, or maybe I'm not in the headspace for a turn-based tactical game, I don't know, but it didn't sing to me, man.
Oh, sorry to hear that. CB, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Nice.
Done with it.
But you didn't like it?
I liked parts of it. There's parts of it that really annoyed me.
What annoyed you?
I can see why some people don't like the combat system. Have I
heard that? I haven't heard that from people. I feel like there's one thing you can love about the game is the combat system.
I do have some friends that don't like it outside of the Go.
CB, I told you I'm your only friend that you're allowed to have.
Shame. Sorry, Scott, you gotta go. Zach says so.
That hurts.
No, I mean, I can't quite put my finger on it. Like why I'm not overly digging some of it. I like how it ended and how they plan on moving forward. Not being able to play a certain character really put a bad taste in my mouth.
But you knew that going in. Come on.
Yep, and it still really left a bad taste in my mouth. So
wait, who are you? What? Who?
Red.
Oh, Red 30. Okay, yeah, they did let you know that beforehand.
That's my boy. So
you'll be able to play him in the second one.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I was devastated there's no Vincent Valentine, but
yeah,
I knew that going in.
The ending boss fight was quite fun and very pretty.
Yes.
Very pretty. But yeah, like there's just certain there's a certain stylizing to the game that I'm just like, I miss the old one.
Well, you can still play that.
I know.
They didn't take it away from you.
So I'm more looking forward to it moving forward now because I know what's coming.
Right.
I think that's what I'm more excited for is because talking with you guys in the past, you knew that I was not won over by this.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I've actually like had hands on it, I'm like, okay, yeah, it was good. I'm just more excited for what comes next now. So I just don't like the time frame that I'm gonna have to wait. So
it's gonna be a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, a real long time.
If each part is as good as this, I'm happy to wait.
I'm really hoping they don't split this into 3 parts because the original game was 3 discs.
Oh, it's going to be 3 parts for sure.
I think you're looking at 3 minimum.
Yeah, 3 minimum.
I'm going to start flipping tables then.
I think 3. I don't know. Yeah, I am very excited for the next one because I feel like I don't know what I'm going to get.
Well, no, but once you finish this game, like going forward how things are going to be in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, yeah. This is fun to talk around.
Yes, yeah. It is very hard to talk around. So I'm looking forward to that.
You know what? You know what to expect. I don't know what to expect, and we're both right.
Yes,
that sums it up.
Exactly.
That wraps up the ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
what about you, Zach? Anything else you've been playing?
I don't know if it seemed like CB had more to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Did I cut you off?
No, man, you good. So
Aerith or Tifa?
Neither.
What?
Whoa, what? I had trouble choosing between.
I told you when I played through the original game, Aerith, Tifa, and Barret. As soon as I could abandon them, goodbye. I'm good. Wow. I don't need them.
Sorry. So you saw Aerith in the red dress or Tifa in the blue dress, and you were just like, eh.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
What? I feel like the moment I saw Aerith in that red dress, my whole life changed.
As soon as I could have Red 13 and Sid in my party, I'm good.
He picked Cloud in Chapter 9. That's what he went with.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. Aerith was... She's got my off the mark here. Aerith in that red dress was something else.
I told you because I was further in the game than you at that point. And you were like, oh, Tifa all the way. Tifa's my girl. I'm like, dude, just wait until the fireworks and you'll change your mind. And you got there and you're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, man. I still bounce back to Tifa, okay?
Yeah,
I'll take Tifa. You have Aerith.
Yeah.
CB will have his pet dog lion.
Yeah.
Everyone will be happy.
Come on. He's man's best friend for a reason. So the voice acting for him was perfect, by the way.
I told you.
Yeah,
I said, wait till you get the voice acting for him.
Yeah.
The casting on Red 13 is insane.
Yeah, I was be still my heart. Good boy.
He really does sound like what you imagined him to sound like when you played through that original game.
Yep.
Yes.
Which is miraculous.
Which even makes it cooler later on when you learn more about him. Again, I'm dancing, but you know where I'm going with Red 13.
Some of the cinematic moments that happened during that final fight made me kind of happy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, man. And then I went back to watch like Advent Children clips after that. It's amazing that Final Fantasy VII Remake is somehow prettier than Advent Children now.
Right.
Yes. I will admit,
insane.
I actually watched Advent Children as soon as I rolled credits on that game.
Well, that movie's pretty good, man.
It is. It is a great movie.
Yeah.
So
I remember it confusing me, and I didn't feel like I had any questions answered.
It will always be better than Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Oh, well, yeah.
I've never seen that movie.
All right, Zach, what else you been playing?
Oh, I mean, I meant to talk about this a couple weeks ago. Now it feels like old hat, but combat challenges got added to Fallen Order. I've been having a lot of fun with those.
Mm-hmm.
They are very tough because to get like 3 stars. Because I love combat arenas in Arkham. Right, it's kind of like one of my chill out things. And believe me, I was stoked. I've been wanting Fallen Order combat challenges, but they're not accessible from the main menu, which is kind of lame. You have to load into a save game and then meditate to get to them.
Oh, that's
I know
weird.
it's like I know it's a nitpick, but it's come on, just let me fight from the main menu. But the challenges themselves are really hard because you get 3 stars in Arkham by hitting a certain points. In Fallen Order, you get 1 star for beating the challenge, 2 stars for beating the challenge without healing, and then 3 stars you have to beat the combat challenge without getting hit.
Oh,
Ooh.
I would be out. There's no way.
Yep. Nope. I'd be toast.
They are I've gotten like 1 2-star so far, but I feel dedicated to getting them all. Morally obligated almost. I am happy they did not add trophies for this though, which actually made me happy because then I would have to do it.
Right.
I would have
you
no
can just
choice.
do it if you feel like it.
I'm going to call them up and make sure they add them in.
Dude, because it would just drive me crazy seeing that, because it'd be like 96% or whatever. But I have the platinum and it'd be like, that's not good enough. I need the 100. This is insane. What I do like about it though is you can make your own combat challenges.
How so? What does that mean?
You can pick your own like map where you want to take place, and then every character, and you can even give yourself allies as well. And it'll be like you have like 50 points or whatever to spend for a combat challenge. And you could take a boss like the second sister, and it'll take cost 10 of your 50 points or whatever. But then you can add in like a spider, which is 4 points. So you kind of like it's almost like a deck, and you're adding characters to try to get to your and it has like a max difficulty cap of like the 50 points or whatever. But you can kind of throw in your own characters, like you can throw in the second sister and the ninth sister, which I did, and then I gave myself Jaro Tapal, who's your master in the flashbacks, and he was fighting alongside me against them.
Oh, that's cool.
So you kind of just build your own little combat scenarios, and it's a lot of fun. It's it's one of those things where like they didn't have to do that, but it just kind of adds a little sandbox to the combat. And since I adore that combat, I was happy to get more of it.
Okay,
Nice.
I have a question about that. How much does a stormtrooper cost?
I think like 2.
Sweet. So I can do like me versus 25 stormtroopers at the same time?
Yeah, that sounds right. They might even be worth 1. I don't know. But I assume it's to cost because, to save your RAM processing power. But yeah, you can just mow down a bunch of stormtroopers.
That makes me happy.
If you think you can handle it. But the Imperial Academy doesn't have a lot of accuracy training, obviously, so you'll probably be okay. And then I've also played through Uncharted 1. I am right at the end of Uncharted 2 because I'm going to be on that Patreon episode that you talked about earlier.
Yep.
And these games hold the hell up.
Really?
Oh my god, they are so good. And Nathan Drake remains one of the great characters in video games. He's just so compelling.
That's one that I've been wanting to go back to as well, because they had the Uncharted collection for free.
Right.
I downloaded it, so I got it.
I apparently did not download it, which seems like hubris, but luckily I have the disc. But it is, man, those games hold up. And like playing them, it was a little bit of, oh yeah, they don't make games like this at all. Like cover-based third-person shooters. Like when they do make them, they also have to have like deep RPG mechanics. But they don't just make, here's a shooter campaign.
I can't think of the last one, really. I mean, outside of like Doom. But even that had RPG mechanics in it.
Well, and even that was first person, right? But even just like a third person is Gears of War, right? Is the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
For this generation. That's crazy. And The Order 1886 was the other one I could come up with.
Oh yeah. I'd have to sit and think on it, but I cannot, like right now, think of another one.
Yeah, they're few and far between. And it was nice, and hey, guess what? There's no skill trees. There's no leveling up. It's just you playing through a story for like 6-8 hours, and it is awesome. And those set pieces in Uncharted 2, because I haven't played it, I probably haven't played the original Uncharted trilogy in 5 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
So like some of the set pieces are surprising again. And that's been a lot of fun. And I'm interested to see because I adore Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, but I am a known disliker of Uncharted 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see how I will feel now, replaying it these 4 years later. Will I be more annoyed playing Uncharted 3 and 4 back to back? I wonder.
Well, 3 is your favorite, right?
Yeah, 3 is my favorite. Although 2 has really surprised me replaying it with how.
I've been telling you, 2 has always been my favorite because of the set pieces. There was one big set piece in 3 where the cruise ship was pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome, and I like 3 because it's got a lot of stuff with Nate and Sully, a lot of their relationship, and I think that'll be fun to explore again. But I mean, 2, especially in this remastered collection, is just so gorgeous with the snow and everything.
I got to do it again. I got to do it again.
Well, and here's the thing: you can get through Uncharted 1 in like a day.
Okay,
like it's really like 6 hours. Uncharted 2 is like 8 hours. I'll probably get through Uncharted 3 in like 4 hours because I've just played it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's probably still like a 6-hour game max. Like they are short games.
Good to know.
They are worth revisiting. And you know what, man? It's going to take you back, I think. I think you're going to agree with me and be like, oh yeah, they really don't make games like this anymore.
I know a lot of people complain about how much shooting you do and how much murder he does. I always loved the shooting in that game. It just felt satisfying. Not in a I want to murder people way, but
there's such a verticality to it, and because of the enemies have grenades and they're also kind of jumping around, like you stay on the move,
mm-hmm.
and that's cool because you're taking cover. You need to take cover, but you're also incentivized to move around. And it's just excited talking about it because it's a lot of fun. And the murderizing thing is a little goofy only because Uncharted 2 makes mention of it like 6 times, where Nate's like, "Oh, no guns. I don't like to kill people unless I have to," and then in that very same level, murders an innocent security guard because he's in the way.
Right.
Like you have to throw him over a ledge, and you're like, "This is okay." I can see why people thought it was a little ridiculous.
The fun thing about those games too, and I know some people get annoyed with it. I never get annoyed with Nathan's voice. Like when he sees a grenade and goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" Like I never get tired of that. It just
people got tired of that.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like I'm using all my Patreon banter, but Nolan North is also a great reminder of why he became so popular.
Mm-hmm.
He is a tremendous actor, gifted.
I agree.
I may actually have to play through these games now.
You've never played them?
No.
You know what, CB? That might actually be a fun pass the controller game for you and me to do. We could just sit through one weekend and just knock out 2 or 3 of those games.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Uncharted 1, if it's your first time through, I feel cautious because there are some more lulls in Uncharted 1. Mm-hmm. It was clear they were trying to figure out what they were doing, but Uncharted 2, from minute 1, just knocks the doors down. Man.
Yeah. I agree. It's funny that you were playing a Naughty Dog game, or a collection of Naughty Dog games, this week, because I decided it was time for me to go back and do my replay of Last of Us this week.
I thought you were saying you're playing a game for fun, not to be morbidly depressed.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because I had very fond memories of this game and just how much I enjoyed it. And going back, this is the first time I've played the remastered version on PS4, and I'm actually looking forward to going through and doing the DLC as well, which I've never touched. But I am reminded that, first off, I played this game for the story. 100% played it for the story. I did not remember that I did not enjoy playing this game.
Oh, yeah?
And I know that sounds like sacrilege because it's such a beloved game. It's not fun. I mean, the combat and the stealth, I don't love it. I never felt like I was in control. I never really felt like I understood what they want me to do. I have to fail a couple times. But, man, that dialogue is great. Troy Baker, so good. Ashley Johnson, it's just very... I love seeing this story again, but like you said, it's not a uplifting story by any means. And here's what's really interesting. That's what, 2003? Or, I'm sorry, 2013. 2013, yeah. Sorry, I was doing my math incorrectly. I knew it was 7 years, but 2013 it was when that game originally came out. And looking at it now, I remember being absolutely blown away by how this game looked. Like just thinking it was like games are never going to look this good ever again. This is just amazing. And I'm looking at it now and I see the age. And this is not me knocking the game whatsoever because I still think it's a gorgeous game. But I think part of the reason I took such a close look at it is because I heard everybody on the internet screaming about the 5 demo, the Unreal 5 engine demo, and how it didn't look next gen. And I understand that this is a remaster of a last gen game, but I just want to be like, guys, look what we praised as like the best thing ever so long ago. Even the character models look aged. They've just come such a long way since then. And I came to the realization that we are so spoiled. After playing through, I haven't finished it, obviously, and I'm going to keep playing it, and I will talk about it again next week to let you know my progress. I'm enjoying the story beats of it. I find myself not enjoying the combat or the stealth. I just can't wait for it to be over.
I actually routinely disliked playing.
Oh, really?
Like the gameplay parts.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting it because I used to review games on GameSpot.com.
Mm-hmm.
And The Last of Us was one of the last ones I did on that site because of the review blog system. I remember people kept trying to get my review taken down, saying it was abusive because I gave it an 8 out of 10 when I reviewed it. And they said that it was offensive and like, you know, inflammatory. He's using like they would just say like, "Oh, he's racist." Try to get his review taken down. It was kind of hilarious.
Wow.
But I think the stealth in that game is pretty bad. I do kind of like the combat, the hit and run kind of style of the combat.
Right.
When you actually get into a gunfight. And I like
the
that
the gunfights aren't bad. I just don't like wandering around clickers and having to move super slowly. That's not fun to me.
No, and I mean, I love Splinter Cell, man. I'm definitely a stealth guy. But I think Naughty Dog just did not have the stealth chops, at least not then.
Mm-hmm.
And I also hated that every puzzle is one of 2 types.
Oh, like move the board to
right,
cross
move the board for Ellie,
or move the pallet in the water.
It is. Yeah, I think so. I think the puzzles are also lame.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like replaying the Uncharted games, like, oh man, there's so much creativity in these puzzles. Naughty Dog really know what they were doing. But I feel like The Last of Us was a story first, right, and then they try to build a game around it.
Right. I am hoping that the sequel, which is why I'm replaying the original in preparation for next month, I hope they have remedied that. But it sure looks like the story is even darker than this one was.
Yes. Well, have you heard that Neil Druckmann said the theme of The Last of Us was love, and the theme of The Last of Us 2 is hate? So if the first Last of Us is his idea of love in the post-apocalypse, I can only imagine what hate will mean.
Right. Which kind of gets me excited, actually.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go some dark places.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to hear the story's holding up. I plan to go through that after I get done with these Uncharted games.
And I'm going to do vice versa. I'm going to go through the Uncharted games. So we're going to be talking about Naughty Dog quite a bit for the next few weeks.
It's Naughty Dog month, I guess.
I want to be clear. I'm not having a bad time. I just find myself just looking forward to get through the gameplay so I can just continue the story. Because I don't remember the characters at all. I played it the week it came out and played through the entire game in a week and then haven't touched it since. So in some respects, it feels like a lot of this feels like the first time.
Yeah, it reminds me of movies like Schindler's List or Joker, where I'm like, that was incredible. I don't ever want to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I still like the story, though.
No, that's what I'm saying.
This actually gets me hopeful for the movie or the series. They could pull it off. That'd be awesome.
Sorry if I didn't make it clear. I'm talking about the story. The story is incredible.
Uh-huh.
It's just so dark and tense the whole way.
Right.
That I was like, I don't know if I need to see this story again quite yet.
Right. Well,
is what I'm saying.
To be perfectly honest, I am playing it on easy. Just because I want to get through and experience the story. I've beat it on normal before. It's not like I'm cheating,
you don't have to defend your gamer cred, Scott. You're okay here.
I know.
You're in a safe space.
I just want to experience the story.
The Last of Us is a game everybody needs to play.
I agree.
At least once.
I agree.
At least just the once.
But that's all I played this week, guys. That's it. Nothing new. But you know who did play something new this week? We have a couple pre-recorded reviews. Rel played a game called Songs for a Hero. Before you guys check out, I want you to hear him talk about this game. It is a musical platform. When I say musical, I mean like theater musical platformer. It's hilarious. You're going to hear that review from him, as well as a game that Spencer played for us called MegaByte Punch, which is like Super Smash Brothers if it were an adventure game. So you're going to want to check out those reviews right now. Hey there, Rel. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Just staying safe by staying home.
That's good, man. I got a question for you. Do you have a song in your heart?
Yes, and it is Let It Go from Frozen.
Oh, no. That's right. You got a kid now, so you're getting caught up on all of those Disney movies, right?
I will be in the next few years. Right now, he just does whatever. Gotcha.
Well, the reason I ask if you have a song in your heart is because you have been playing a game for us called Songs for a Hero from Dumativa Game Studio. We got to give them a thanks for hooking you up with a copy of this. And I saw this, and I thought it was a charming idea. And I was a little jealous that you got to play it and I didn't, because why don't you let everybody know what this is, but I want you to do the entire review in song.
No. No, I honestly... I truly considered doing my video review of this game in song, and then I remembered two things. Number one, I'm not a songwriter, and number two, I'm a terrible singer.
I think you should have still done it.
No. I want to bring viewers into the channel, not drive them away.
Okay, fair enough. So let everybody know what this is, because they're probably wondering what the heck we're talking about.
So it's a musical platformer, and it's different from other ones, names of which escape me now. I mean, like, I know one game, for example, that you control by blowing into a mic, and it raises or lowers platforms. But no, this one is a platformer kind of similar to Wonder Boy and Monster World, if you know that series.
Yep.
But the main character sings all the time.
It's
throughout the
like
entire
he's
game.
The narrative of what's going on. I'm jumping on this platform. I'm shooting this with fire.
Yes. Similar to that. You do better at doing the review in song than me.
Oh, next time when the sequel comes out, we'll do it together. We'll just we'll have a sing off.
I hope there will be a sequel, honestly, because this was a good game. This was good. But yeah, he sings and narrates in song everything that he's doing and seeing. You know, and frequently lampshades various video game conventions. Like, you know, he always has to go to the right. Why the heck are these platforms floating in midair? Why are these snakes making me feel bad just by touching them? They didn't even attack me. Like, what the heck? Oh, that's our princess is in another castle. May as well sing about it.
I just love that concept. Now, does it get old? Because even watching the trailer, I was like, I could see this getting annoying very quickly.
You know... I mean, it can be subjective, obviously. I think that most people will not think that it gets old. For me personally, it kind of went along the same trajectory as finding a new Let's Player on YouTube. And so you kind of know what I'm talking about, maybe. I think maybe explain it for the people who don't follow Let's Players on YouTube. At first, you find one of their videos and they make a lot of funny remarks and you find it hilarious. And it's like, I'm subscribing. I am in. And then you watch some more of it. And as time goes on, it becomes less funny. But there's still some funny moments. But really, you're just there because, you know, they're interesting. And you really like their personality. And then as time goes on even further, you just have it on in the background for noise.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's similar to this game. It's not that the singing ever gets bad or old, but rather that as the game goes on, it becomes more difficult. And so rather than being able to mostly focus on the game, mostly focus on the song and just the game is pretty easy, suddenly becomes a little bit more tricky and you're not as paying attention to the song as much.
So talk to me about the game itself, because I looked at the trailer and to be perfectly direct with you, the platforming and everything looked pretty rudimentary.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a game I would recommend for beginner or like intermediate level players. Like if you have never played a platformer before and you want to get into it, this is a pretty good game to do so. It's not very difficult. I mean, as someone who has literally decades of experience in the genre, it's not a difficult platformer. But by the same token, it does get more difficult, but it never gets like, you know, Super Meat Boy level. It's more like, Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Oh, okay. That's a good comparison. That's good. Do you recommend everybody check it out?
I absolutely would. I mean, here's a good indication. If you watch the trailer and if you laugh at it at any point, then you should get the game. And even if you don't laugh at it, it's still a good platformer, and it still has really good moments. Like, they take a few cues from Sonic the Hedgehog as well. Not the speed aspect, but a couple of other things that I thought was really awesome. And, you know, if you find the music annoying at any point, you can just mute it.
Okay. I mean, you kind of lose the whole reason you picked up the game, though, if you did that.
I think the musical aspect is certainly a hook. It's a unique thing to it, but I think the game itself still stands on its own.
Fair enough. Again, that is Songs for a Hero. I really hope that comes to console as well, because I want to play it.
I think, well, you know what? You could play it on whatever PC you have. It's not a very demanding game.
Okay. And I know you've got a video review coming up here. Where can people check that out?
It will be up at some point. By the time this podcast goes up, it should be up on my channel at http whatever www.youtube.com/relplays. That's RELLE plays. Yeah, I mean, as you're listening to this, it's probably already up. So go over there and check it out.
Sounds good. Well, Ralph, thanks so much for checking that out, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man.
You too, and just remember, let it go, and this is why I didn't do it in song.
Oh, man. You were totally right. Have a good one, man.
Later.
I'm also here with Spencer. How's it going, man?
What up, dude?
Hey, you've been playing a game for us called MegaByte Punch from Team Reptile, and shout out to Super Indie Games for hooking up with a review copy of this one. Tell me about this game, because the trailer looks incredible. Reminds me of Mega Man, but I can't really tell from your review what kind of game this is. Is it a platformer? Is it a shooter? Is it a brawler? Is it a Smash Brothers? What is it?
It's like a brawler and a Smash Brothers game.
Okay.
To put it the best way is, it reminds me of Super Smash Brothers. 100%. A little bit of difference. Obviously, there's a little bit more of a free-form ability and no button mashing with this game, thankfully.
So is it like you're going from screen to screen and just filled with enemies and you clear them all out? Is that?
Sort of. So there's 6 levels in this game, and each level has 3 stages. And when you get to each stage, it's like an intricate maze that you have to go through to get to
2D, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to go through this intricate maze to get from point A to point B, and there's no rhyme or reason to these mazes. That you can get lost, and I've gotten lost a few times in the game, but I persevered and found the ending, obviously.
So are they procedurally generated? Like, they're different every time, or is it the same stage every time?
No, they're different
Okay.
for each stage in each level. If you're asking me if they're different each time I go back to it, I've not gone back to a level I played previously, so I don't really know if it's changed or not.
So talk to me about the combat, because you compared it in your review to Super Smash Brothers, but Super Smash Brothers, well, I mean, the hardcore players would argue that it's not button mashy. You are pressing one button in a certain direction to do different attacks. How does the combat work in this one?
So I am not good whatsoever with Super Smash Brothers. So button mashing is kind of my go-to with that game.
Right.
But this game, you heavily rely on your interchangeable parts. So you're technically a robot that you can interchange your arms, your legs, your torso, your head to either, like you said something about Mega Man, you can shoot a big ball of power ball or whatever at an enemy, or you have a machine gun on the other hand that could shoot and deal 7 damage. And it changes drastically, and it's all about it's all about what the enemy is going to do. So if the enemy comes and attacks you and they make the hit, you have literally a second or two to make your move. So you have to plan accordingly.
So it's very reactionary.
Yes. Thank you. I was trying to think of the word. I don't know why I didn't, but
okay.
Yes.
All right. And how long did it take you to finish this one?
This one was about a 7 to 10 hour game. I sat down and probably played it good 4 to 5 hours in one night.
Nice.
I really did enjoy it.
Okay.
So.
Do you recommend our listeners check it out then?
Yes, I do. I highly do. If you like Super Smash Brothers, I check it out. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
It sounds kind of like if Super Smash Brothers were, like had an adventure, like you go from room to room instead of just fighting against your friends or just merely fighting against other opponents. You're kind of working your way through a maze and fighting enemies as you go to get to bosses, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
How does the bosses work then?
Pretty much the same way. Once you get into the end after stage 3 of your whatever level you are on, you go into this boss battle, and I think they're like 10 times harder than any of the machines you fight, which I think is great because your boss battle should be the hardest battle in each level.
Sure.
But they have powers that surpass you, and you just have to know, like you said, very reactionary. You have to react accordingly to every move that they make.
Gotcha. That sounds really good. Again, that is MegaByte Punch from Team Reptile. Spencer, thanks so much for checking that one out for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll catch you later.
Take it easy.
All right, thanks to Rel and Spencer. Do appreciate it. That is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words before we get out of here?
You know what I mean? Check out Smirk. We're gonna have a special guest coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah,
our own Scott Clark. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on Smirk.
Yeah. So there you go. My storytelling podcast leads to a moral or a theme and a discussion afterwards. It's a lot of fun, and you see a little bit of a darker side of me over there.
It's true. CB, how about you?
Finished listening to Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology.
I'm in the middle of listening to that too.
It's a good book. I recommend it to anybody who's interested in the subject. So
very cool.
And
it is a great audiobook to listen to right before you play God of War.
Yes, and the way he tells the stories just feels so good. His voice for Thor is awesome.
Well, his voice in general is just very pleasing. He's just very easy to listen to.
Do you know his kind of like history with that book?
I don't.
I mean, it's just because you can really hear like the passion when he does the audiobook. And it's because he always wanted to do a writing of like Norse mythologies, like his version of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he was too intimidating because he loves the original myths so much. And that's why he would always write around it with like American gods or stuff like that. But he didn't feel until like now, 30, 40 years into his career, did he finally feel like he was ready to write about Norse mythology.
Wow. I just love that they explain things that I know very little about Norse mythology, and admittedly, most of the stuff I know is from, Marvel.
God of War.
Or God of War. And seeing like the actual story behind things, like the creation of Thor's hammer. And then the story ends with him going, and that is how Thor's hammer was created. It just, I don't know. And then the story just ends. I just love it. I don't know how Neil Druckmann I sounded right there or not, but.
Neil Gaiman. Neil Druckmann is a.
Sorry, Neil Gaiman. Sorry.
Well, I liked it so much I went and downloaded 5 other mythology books. So I'm actually currently listening to Japanese mythology.
Nice.
Oh. Susanoo and Okami.
I just started before we were recording, so I just got into that one. So
I got a quick recommendation I want to make too. I know this is an old show, but I started watching an HBO show called Barry this week with Hader. What's his first name? Not John.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. Bill Hader. It is a show that I just consistently smile throughout. It's very silly, but it's very HBO. There's no laugh track, and it's nice because each episode is like 30 minutes long, and there's only 10 episodes in each season, and there's 2 seasons. It's great. It's some very interesting characters and legit laugh out loud moments that I wasn't expecting. And do yourself a favor, if you have not watched it, try not to look into what the premise is before you watch it. Just go in and watch one episode and see if you like it. It's 30 minutes. And I guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, but I feel like at the end of the episode, when the first credit rolls, you're going to be like, I got to watch another episode. It's that good. So that's my recommendation for the week. Anyway, CB, Zach, thanks so much for being here. It's good to chat with you guys as always. Zach, it's good to have you back. And everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Berensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.